Welcome to Ofofo Studio. Today, we're recording from our customer's office in Hyderabad. The customer's name is Avon.ai. They're up to some exciting stuff. We'll put the link in the description. I have with me today my guest, Prasanna Guntur. Prasanna is the cybersecurity head and founder at Supra Technologies. He's a proven technocrat and a major voice when it comes to cybersecurity and compliance within the nation and globally. Prasanna, welcome to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
For our viewers and the listeners, if you can just introduce yourself and tell them what you do.
Sure. I'm Prasanna Guntur. I have 20 plus years of experience, both in India and abroad. I lived and worked abroad for a very long time, and I'm currently in India. And I work in the space of cybersecurity and emerging technologies. I coach, mentor, train, and I provide advice and consulting in the space of technology and all the emerging technologies.
Thank you for that, Prasanna. Prasanna, when it comes to cybersecurity, obviously, a lot of people talk about it, but there are very few informed voices that actually have opinions which translate to things that actually happen, and one of them being you. So, what do you think is the state of cybersecurity currently in the world and in India?
Well, that's a good question because cybersecurity is definitely a focus area, both globally as well as in India, and more so for India. The reason being that we have one of the youngest population in the world, as a nation, and we are the most populous nation also. So the population is huge, and there are a lot of youngsters. And two is the penetration of technology. Most importantly, the mobile technology. You will have a lot of people who may not be good in speaking English, but they know how to use a mobile. And the penetration has gone quite deep. And we are sitting in one of the states, Telangana, which stands top when it comes to penetration of technology. And unfortunately, because of the same reason also, you have cyber crimes are pretty high.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because the technology has gone so far and, it has gone deep. And, people are using technology, but not taking enough precautions because awareness is not, grown along with the penetration of technology.
So, what are some low-hanging fruits or basic things that a person or an organization can do just to be at least, just to have mediocre security? Nothing advanced, but just to keep the basics right. What are some of the things?
It's good that you use the word mediocre. The reason I find it funny at the same time good is because when you say cybersecurity, everybody has this image of a guy wearing a hoodie and it's like a Matrix movie.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. There's a lot of basics that you need to do correctly. In fact, I was speaking to one of the branch managers of a bank, and I just happened to ask him, "Sir, do you actually lock your screen before you go for a coffee break?"
Did he say no?
And fortunately, now they have software which have been installed by banks, which automatically locks it. Whether you lock it or not, it gets locked. But still, there is a time lag, right? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever it is. But still, I think it should be a practice.
Okay.
The point is that he was not even aware that it is one of the most important steps to do. He thought, oh, how does it matter? Because, and again, one more thing I keep saying this and keep harping, like a broken record is cybersecurity or any of the emerging technologies is not a responsibility of one single man in the organization or one single domain or team. It is the responsibility of entire organization because everybody is playing a role in it.
Yeah.
And the chain, when you say chain, is as strong as the weakest link. Right? So if you have any lapses, that could be the weakest point. And I keep saying there is a cyber training that is required for every level within the organization. Whether you are a board member, leadership teams, senior teams, middle level management, junior management, people who are not in the managerial grade, everybody, including the individual, if you call him an office boy or whatever the name is, who might be just giving a tea and coffee as part of his role. But in part of his role as other things that he does deal with technology in some shape and form.
Absolutely.
He also needs training. But what kind of a training each of them requires is different. You wouldn't give the same training to everybody. Based on the role, you need to design it, and it should not be a tick in the box. It's not a tick in the box exercise. They need to take it seriously, because end of the day, it is going to impact the financials. It is going to impact the legal standing of the organization, the brand image.
Right.
If they are publicly listed, the shareholder value, and there's a whole lot of things that come with it. So, excuse me, globally, it is quite seriously taken proactively. Unfortunately, the smaller organizations, and I'm more specifically saying MSMEs, not the large organizations, the MSMEs in India still don't take it seriously.
Absolutely.
The large organizations don't have an option. They have to, because there is a corporate body and, a lot of regulations and all that come into play. But the MSMEs generally do it more on a reactive basis. We'll see. If there is a fire, then we'll think about it. So it's a fire service in, service rather than a proactive approach.
So if a company was to approach you proactively and if they were a small and medium business, an MSME, like you said, what are some of the things that you'd recommend they should do just to start with?
See, there's a huge list of things, but however, I would say that the approach should be a 360 degrees approach, and not think that, there's going to be a silver bullet or just a software that you give and things are gone. Bingo, it's over. No, there is no, such solution where you have a silver bullet and everything is taken care of. You'll have to take a 360 degrees approach, and there are a number of things that need to be done. If this is, and they do it with all honesty, for sure, they wouldn't have to really spend very high on big softwares.
Right.
But they need to do all of it. It's not just one thing. For example, if I say this particular software is very good for your backend, the servers or whatever it is, just because you have taken care of the servers doesn't mean your organization is safe.
That's just one.
That's just one part of the whole strategy. Right. So you need to look at, if you talk to somebody from military, say strategy, what would he say? You need to take care of the front end, back end, the supplies. There's so many things, right? Intelligence.
Correct.
So there's a whole strategy that goes into the planning board, right? Same applies for cybersecurity. It's no different. And remember that if you take care of 360 degrees, it is not 100% safe. However, please remember that the cyber guys or the crimes that are conducted, they are actually much smarter than us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they look for ROI. They wouldn't waste time where they need to persist too much.
Correct.
Unless the returns are equally high. And if you have really taken good precautions from an MSC point of view, why would he waste his time on your organization?
Absolutely.
He'll move on and look for low-hanging fruits, if I can put it that way. Right? So, from a strategy point of view from MSME, they need to first look at the process, people, and technology. All three is important. So, it is, and what applies to an X organization need not necessarily apply for Y organization. You just can't copy-paste the strategy.
Not just a strategy.
It's not a template strategy. It is very specific because process changes, the technology they use changes, the people also change. So, it is very important to do a specific personalized strategy for each of the organizations. To just give an example, say I have suggested a particular strategy for X bank. Now, just because I have done for a banking domain, I just can't give the same strategy to a Y bank.
Absolutely, right.
Though they are in the same domain, they'll definitely have different processes.
Okay.
And people are different. And definitely comes the technology part of it, what applications they use, what hardware they use, what is their infrastructure like, how many points they have set it up, how are their servers set up.
Right.
Is it centralized or is it distributed? Is it on the cloud or is it local? Number of factors come into play.
Yeah.
So giving a very short answer that, okay, this is what they need to do, MSME, say 1, 2, 3, 4, wouldn't help. So we need to go a bit more deeper than that. But I would say the first thing is we need to look into this is a big step. So probably that is what they need to do. They need to approach somebody. It could be anybody, but they need to approach somebody and have a strategy in place.
So moving on from institutions and companies to just people, what is it that a normal layman, what can they do to be more careful about their own data and also to not fall prey to so many cyber crimes that are happening, right? The scam calls, we've got an alert coming in every time we call somebody now, like, because it's happening so much. What are some of the things that they can do on their phone just to be more careful about their data?
That's a good question, because of late we hear that announcement that we get before you make a phone call. That is because of the cyber, what you call as digital arrests, which has increased a lot. And India being one of the prime targets.
Right.
There are a number of factors again. Large number of English-speaking population. Then you have technology penetration and mobile phone usage, smartphone usage. However, I think there is a lack of, I would say, there is carelessness. So it is purely out of carelessness and the psychology, which is what is playing. Because if you see as Indians, there is a very huge factor of the social image.
Yeah.
If somebody rings you and you say you are stuck in something X, Y, Z, people are scared more about what will happen if it goes out, what somebody else would think.
The perception.
Perception. What would my neighbor think about me?
Right.
What would my friends think about me? What would the relatives think about me? That is where most of the digital arrests have happened. Not because they've really done something wrong.
Yeah.
And if I can go one step further, people still get scared when you say the authorities. As soon as you take their name, they start worrying, even though they've not done anything wrong, seriously.
Yeah.
So the question is that they're worried about the image. And that is where they fall trapped to us. At their own end, they need to take precautions, because some of the things that they can definitely do is, if they're working in sensitive areas of work, whether government organizations or even private, where they handle a lot of sensitive data. My request is, if they're using those mobile phones or devices for office purposes, please do not give it to your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
For playing video games
Uh-huh.
and or anything else, because it's not a toy. Right? You see where I'm coming from. So because what happens is, and I don't blame the kids also. Probably we are also like that at their age. They're so focused on what they're doing on the phone, whether it's playing video game or watching something. Suddenly a message could pop up, which actually says update or accept. It could be anything. We don't know what it is.
Just get it out of the way.
Exactly. They don't really read what it is,
Yeah.
or take the time to come and show it to the parent and say, hey, there is a message. All they want to do is clear it out of the screen,
Right.
get on with the playing the game or watching whatever you're watching. So you see the risk. In fact, if I can give an anecdote, this was actually in news, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago. APS, which is Army Public School kids, they were targeted by people outside the country, and their phones were hacked.
Huh.
Yes, because nowadays kids start using smartphones from the age of like fifth, class 5, class 6, 7. Even class 5, 6 are using it. Not even high school, even mid school. They started using. So what these guys did is, they wanted to get into the phones of their parents, because they work for defense forces, right? So they thought, what is the easiest way?
Yeah.
Get into the phones of the kids. Anyway, they go home, they connect to the Wi-Fi or the network. Once they connect, you're still inside the system. Then through that, you see how the entry is coming. You see how it progresses, right? It's a cascading effect. So they tried to do this, and it was actually detected. And they tried to, make the kids aware that this can happen. So these can happen. So the attack can happen from any side. So it is very important that, irrespective of the age, as I said, if they're using technology,
Right.
they need to be trained. In fact, without naming the place, there was one senior person from the armed forces who had requested me to come down and do a 3 days workshop. Out of the 3 days workshop, 2.5 days was for the people who work there, both uniform forces and the civil forces, both work there for them. And half a day, he requested me to conduct a session for the school which is in their campus.
Yeah.
I was like, then he explained to me. He said it's very very much required that they also get a hang of what it is and how it works. They need to be aware.
Right.
So it was very, it was pleasant to know that he took the time to understand it and see it from a holistic point of view. So it was very good. So yeah.
So over here, like, this is still someone who's very mindful, like, him coming over to you and asking proactively about creating an awareness session. But a lot of people would not be that proactive, like you said, right? So, what is it that can be done to create, more awareness around privacy and cybersecurity among the masses?
As individuals.
Right.
Well, I would say that awareness to some extent you can do, as they're doing in terms of saying the message you get before the phone calls not. But I think somewhere you'll have to instill the fact that it is going to affect you financially.
Yeah.
I mean, like it or hate it, until there is a financial angle that you bring in, people don't wake up.
Right. Right.
Everything else will just go to the deaf ears. You say it's not safe, or it's about the country, or it's about the organization, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work. Until it comes home, they don't realize. You say your family would be in trouble or your financials can be. That is when they start taking it more seriously.
Okay.
So I think probably they'll have to bring in that financial side of it, say that what it can happen, where it is going to lead, and how they can actually, get into a situation where they get into financial troubles.
Right.
In fact, there is a case I've actually gone through, because nowadays you also have this new thing of synthetic identity frauds.
What does that mean?
Synthetic identity frauds are where people are actually amalgamating different identities of more than one person and creating a new identity which doesn't exist. So they pick up a guy's PAN, somebody else's Aadhaar, somebody else's name. So they're creating an identity which doesn't exist in the system. They're assembling a new thing. And if you even cross-check, that kind of guy doesn't exist in reality, right? So they're managing everything in the back end, front end. It's a very organized thing. So you talk about synthetic identities and all of these things are happening. So again, from a banking example, there's a lady who went to a bank and she requested the bank manager that I want a loan. And the branch manager said, okay, please sit the formalities. And then he took her details. He checked the bank, account, her details. He came back and he said, ma'am, you already have about 9 loans on your name and you're asking for more loans. And she said, I'm sorry, but I have not taken even single loan till today. He was quite surprised. He said, wow, okay, let me check. And he went back and he checked that out of those 9 loans, 3 loans were from his bank only.
Okay.
I mean, same banking group.
Yeah.
So he said, you've taken from our banking group. 6 are from different banks. So she still said, no, I have not. Then it is very easy because 3 of are from his own bank. So he can go back and check the system. So he went back, he cross-checked, because always the loans are linked to the bank account numbers.
Right.
So there is a link. So he picked up the bank account numbers and he said, these are the 3, or this is the account number where, it is linked. And she said, the account numbers don't belong to me.
Well, what happened next?
He was quite taken back.
Yeah.
As a branch manager, somebody's approached and something like this happened in the bank.
Yeah.
And they're still investigating the case, so I can't reveal the names and all of that. They're still going through it. Yeah. And then he said, okay, please wait. He went back and he digged a little more further. He called the person where the account number details were related. And that person's name is also same as this lady's name. It's the same name. And then he revealed to her that, ma'am, are these your account numbers? And she said, yes. And so you have 3 loans with our bank. She said, no, even my bank, even I have not taken those loans. So the loans don't belong to me. And this guy is like now totally lost. There's one lady who says the account and the loans are not mine.
Right.
The second lady says the account numbers are mine,
Right.
but the loans don't belong to me. And both ladies' name is same. Now this guy is totally lost. He came to me. He rang me and he said, what do I do? I've asked her to go and approach the authorities. And I said, yeah, she can do that. But again, even the authorities will come back to you because they'll ask you to dig deeper.
Right.
So this is, and he said, what could have happened? I said, based on the information you give me, it's very hard to say exactly what would have happened. But this looks more like a synthetic identity kind of a thing where they've created a new thing.
Synthetic identity fraud.
Yeah. In fact, the principal secretary of Maharashtra, he's a DG. He's actually written an article about this synthetic identity fraud. I think it's available online. It's quite, deep how it is going. And this happens in US also. So with the advent of AI, we're saying that things will improve with AI and, we have so many things we can do. It's very good. What we don't realize is how much of AI we want to use Even the guys on the dark side are going to use.
Exactly, yeah.
So they want to actually use it more effectively. So there is a percentage, I would say, the cream of the cream. I mean, maybe that's not the right thing to say, but they are. And they're sitting on the wrong side. And these guys are very tough. Try what you can. And they know how to beat the system. So probably, instead of worrying about those 1 or 2%, but they're going to have a lot of impact on what they do in the market. Because once they do something, they plan it to so much of precision and, so much of technology and, it's well thought through. So it's going to have an impact. But I think we should worry about the 98, 99% of people who are not so good at what they do, sitting on the wrong side. So probably take care and take precautions and see how we can stop them. And at an individual basis, all of us can contribute in some shape or form. And how many of us actually really go and see what are the security features in the mobile phone? Hardly anyone. Do we actually see how many applications we have actually given away a lot of information which we shouldn't? What are they collecting? We don't go into such deep. And it doesn't really need a technology kind of a background.
Right. You just need to understand plain English. Yeah.
Plain English, common sense. And nowadays, not even English, it's supporting multiple languages.
Right.
So even if you can read other languages, it's pretty much you can understand what is it trying to say, correct? Because it's a multilingual thing. So I think people just need to take a bit more time and see. I'll give you a very, very simple analogy. You buy a car, it's an expensive car or whatever it is you're trying to drive. You obviously check where is the gear, where is the, brake pedal, accelerator,
Yeah.
where's the indicators, high beam, low beam light, all the features, or you just go and drive. Even if you're a very good driver and you have been driving for a long time, it's a new car. You know that the features would have been set up in different places. Maybe some have the indicator on left, some have on the right side, So you'll check out before, actually drive, right? And if you're a little more into automobiles, probably you'll open the hood also and check a bit more. That is a basic thing. Why don't we do that for mobile? You just buy, put a SIM, you start out. You don't even check what are the things that it is collecting, what features it is got. I think they need to take a bit more interest in doing it for your own self-interest.
Right. Very quotable quote. Okay. So you brought up a very interesting point. I mean, obviously with AI coming in, it can be used both by the good guys and the bad threat actors. Can you give me examples of how it can be used for the good part in cybersecurity and how it could be used by the threat actors?
Definitely. Say you have an AI system which is being now used for data analytics, for fraud detections, threat analysis. So it can be used because it can do a lot many things. It can analyze data, huge volumes of data and big data and lots of things. Right? So you can use it for these purposes, especially financial organizations, banking and non-banking. They definitely need it because they need that kind of a support. It is not manually possible for people to, work by themselves and analyze all the data. Humanly, it is impossible.
Right.
With so much of transactions happening. Whereas there have been cases where the authorities have also used it, where AI technologies for face recognition.
Yeah.
You have huge gatherings now, right? Whether it is a sport or you have melas or you have some religious function, whatever it could be. Airports. Yeah. You have thousands and lakhs of people moving in and out. So you need a facial recognition that can do it more effectively.
Yeah.
You cannot expect a guy to stand and stare at each person's face and, it's humanly tiring and not possible really. So these are all the areas where you can actually use it for good. From threat actors, the guys who are really good at what they do, they can use it for a key number of things. They can just set the algorithms perfectly right. It can start going and browsing servers, look for vulnerabilities. What are the ports which are open? Which are the ones ready to attack? So they will do all the homework. So you know how we say recce?
Yeah. They got a sound. Yeah.
So AI will do a recce and come back and say, these are the servers which are ready.
The whole party's up. Yeah.
So all that is done. Please execute the next steps. So it's actually making things much easier for them to do what they're doing. However, it's not so scary. Let's not give it a very dark picture and say, oh, the world is going. No. If enough precautions are taken, there will be attempts, but there will not be breaches. There's a huge difference.
That's why. Yeah.
People will keep attempting.
Yeah.
But since you have the right precautions in place, the breach will not happen. So what we are worried about the breach, attacks you can't stop. Only thing is you have to make sure that the attack doesn't convert into a breach.
Prasanna, let's switch gears now. Let's start talking about you. How did you get here? How did your journey start personally?
All right. That's a long way. I come from a technology background. I did my bachelor's in computer sciences. Then I wanted to go into the MBA, so I did my MBA from Calcutta. And then I got placed to the campus into Project Plains. And I, for a short period, went out of technology into product management, marketing, and all of that.
But still technology adjacent.
To some extent, I would say. So I was there for about 3.5 years, and then moved out and went abroad for doing a master's, second master's in information systems. And then I got placed even before I completed my master's.
Yeah.
And I was a director award holder. And I got placed into Plan IT. So I moved into quality assessments and testing of software. That is where you have two sides. One is the functional side and the non-functional side.
What does that mean?
The functional is all about how the software works, whether it is doing what the customer wants, all that. The non-functional side is all about whether you test the security features, you check whether the software can take the load, whether the load testing, penetration testing. All these are non-functional side of things. So the functional part is when you click on login and password, does it open? That's the function. Is it actually doing what it is supposed to do? But there are certain things which are not really seen. So they're on the back end. Those are also non-functional. So that is where I started, liking what I'm doing. So one thing led to the other, and then I moved to Big Four consulting.
What year was this?
This was 2004, 2006. So then I moved into Big Four consulting. And being in a consulting space, it's an ocean. And all you do is you just learn and learn and learn, which is very good. So a lot of my learning and experience, and I think I'm fortunate that I had very good, mentors, my bosses, and they really helped me. I worked on multiple projects with multiple clients in different countries. And in fact, in the previous to that, before moving to Big Four consulting, I was actually also seconded to New Zealand to set up our office. So it was an experience.
Yeah.
We're going and setting up our office in a near place and we're meeting new people. So I lived and worked there for 6 months, then moved back and moved to Big Four. And then in Big Four, the good part is you get to work with different kinds of clients and different industries. So you work with government clients, private clients, big, small. So you see different kinds of technologies, different kinds of processes, and also people.
Right.
People are also different.
Yeah.
So that kinds of throws you in the deep end. Initially, it is slightly tough if you're not coming from that background, but then you learn the ropes and then you start, enjoying it because it makes you a very different person. Frankly, I was not this bold in speaking, let me tell you. I was kind of, shy, camera shy, if I can put it that way, but that made me a different person. So I'm here because of all the support from my mentors and people who took the time to guide me and help me with the challenges. And, one thing led to the other. And then I've learned, and maybe because of the consulting thing, I also love to meet people and learn new things. And being in technology and cyber, if it is a passion to learn, it's a big plus because you learn something new every day. And that also, I think, kind of reduces the boredom. You don't get bored in what you do because there's something new all the time, right?
Yeah. So how did this shift happen from working in business consulting to focused on cybersecurity? How did that happen?
Well, I've moved back to India for personal reasons. And then again, I've joined Big Four. But then somehow I saw that I was not doing what I wanted to. And they're still doing what it is, but I was not, enjoying it in a way. So moved out, I joined as a business partner for one of the cyber firms. And then, being a business consultant also, I was still handling risk. technology risk and but it kind of became a full-time thing of just on cyber. So the firm I joined as a business partner, it was to do with as a in cybersecurity. So from there, I started focusing more purely on the domain of cyber rather than spreading myself thin out into doing things.
And then from there, how did you go about founding Supra?
So those are the days where the COVID just started off. That is when I came back, and because of that, not too much business was happening. So and I can't say the business was not happening, but even you can't venture out too much. There were travel restrictions. You can't go and meet people. There's so many things, right? One thing was that is when I started seeing, started connecting with people. I said, this is a good time where you do not have the opportunity to go out, but at least you can virtually connect with people. So one, gentleman, I would say, who I met, he said, probably with all your knowledge and background, you should start venturing out into the space of coaching, mentoring, and training also. Because you do a good job of advisory and consulting, but you seem to have that flair where you can train people, coach, and mentor. So start doing that, do some public speaking. And so in the COVID time, I started building the base where you start building templates, material, presentation. Yeah. What are the good topics you can actually choose to speak to people or present? So I started doing the groundwork, reaching out to people, and certain places I went and I demonstrated what is it that I can do for them. So then the next step was a logical step, I would say, is to start Supra, where you providing consulting and advisory. Along with that, do the coaching and training benefit. So kind of workshops.
So all of this would require you to be on top of key concepts and also emerging technologies, like you said, right? So how do you stay on top of things? What's your content consumption pattern like?
See, one thing I would say is be connected with your peers in the same industry.
Yes, right.
Because that is the only way to learn. See, so you change a lot of, exchange a lot of information, and because you cannot be on top of everything all the time. So probably you might miss few things, but they always upgrade you, and vice versa. It goes both ways, and you exchange ideas. And there are some forums where you actually have some, once in a fortnight kind of thing where you brainstorm and discuss the latest issues that are, so this is one. And two is, I would say, is passion about reading. You need to be a very passionate reader. You need to love what you do and try to learn more things. And two is, maybe again, it comes back to my consulting background. I have a flair understanding the subject matter of any domain quite quickly. That is very required. So you just can't say, I know the technology. You need to know the background of how the processes work. Because if you don't know the process and how the data moves, it's very hard to figure out what is happening. So you'll have to do a lot of reading. But again, as I said, if you enjoy what it is, so to stay on top, you have to be involved in community groups of a similar, your brother and I probably say in the same technology space, and we share information, we learn.
So before we wrap this up, Prasanna, what's on the future roadmap for you and for Supra Technologies?
So definitely. I have been reaching out to quite a few organizations and I would say member groups like chartered accountants and company secretaries, because though they're not from technologies, they influence businesses, right? And they also have a role in cybersecurity. So I reach out to them and mention to them how I actually can help and Supra can help in terms of awareness, training, and advisory and consulting side of things. That's one space. And two is I'm also tying up a few organizations where we would be collaborating and working together, where maybe all the services they can't provide, there's certain services we provide, there's certain services they provide, but we share the same space in terms of, making sure that the customer is getting all the services that they're looking for. So there's kind of I would say, yeah, kind of, yeah.
All right. So Prasanna, like our viewers and listeners, if they wish to reach out to you, how do they go about doing that?
Sure. Definitely. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Prasanna Guntur, or you can also reach out to me in my email, which is prasannagунtur@supratech.xyz. Don't worry, XYZ is a real email ID. And my mobile is 9902-849-444.
The links will be included in the description. Prasanna, thank you. Thank you so much for your time.